Welcome to the Web Design Business Podcast with your host, Josh Hall, helping you build a web design business that gives you freedom and a lifestyle you love.
Hello, friends. Welcome into episode 219 of the Web Design Business Podcast. Now, I'm curious, when you think about marketing your business, I wonder what the first few thoughts that are coming into your mind. My guess would be that you're thinking of one of three main areas of marketing your business, or maybe all three. Those would be social media, ads of some sort, or networking. And those are great. Those are great channels. And I use networking to grow my business. But there's also a very worthwhile channel that I want to throw into the mix for you that you might want to consider. And that is YouTube. And the beauty about YouTube is, especially nowadays, it is such an underutilized and untapped channel for service providers, because you don't need to be an influencer or a big entrepreneur with a massive audience to be able to use YouTube to grow your business. And for this idea and for this chat, I'm so excited to bring back onto the podcast somebody who is a legend online entrepreneur. He is an author. He is a YouTuber himself, podcast host. Personally, my favorite course creator, Pat Flynn, is back onto the show here. And I invited Pat back on to specifically talk about YouTube. And as you'll find out through this episode, he knows a lot about growing a couple different channels in the YouTube space that are very different. And in this episode, he shares all of his top tips, tricks, and lessons learned to help you utilize YouTube to grow your business as well. And again, you don't need to be the next Pat Flynn to utilize YouTube to help grow your business. You don't even need that many subscribers. YouTube, as you'll find out, can benefit you and your business in so many ways. And I've seen it play out for myself. And it's why I wanted to do an episode on it, to really encourage you to do it. And I'll say this real quick. I don't know anyone who did some YouTube work and regrets it. Like, it is something that you can have out there for as long as you want it to be. It can always help generate sales and help grow your business. So I highly recommend that you consider adding YouTube. And I do want to say, before we dive into this episode and before I bring Pat on, Pat actually has a brand new course on YouTube. It's called YouTube from Scratch. And Pat has graciously offered all listeners of this show a special discount for that course. We talk about this later on, but if you hear this chat and you're like, okay, let me try it out, and you don't want to make all the mistakes yourself and you want to get a nice roadmap to follow, I'm actually going through this course right now myself, so you can go through it along with myself. And if you go to my link at joshhall.co/Pat Flynn, you'll get a special discount off the course that's automatically applied. And heads up, that is an affiliate link. So in full disclosure, I will get a kickback. But go to joshhall.co/Pat Flynn for Pat's YouTube course. And without further ado, here is Pat. Let's talk YouTube and how it actually might be an incredible channel for marketing your design business. Here we go. Pat, welcome back onto the podcast. What a pleasure to have you on again, man.
We're back again. I'm so excited and excited to catch up and fill you and the audience in on a lot of the stuff that's been happening on my end, from business to, I know we're going to talk about video a lot. I'm just excited, man. I always enjoy chatting with you.
Well, you were on in episode 100, and it was just kind of an all-encompassing type of chat about entrepreneurship as somebody as legendary status as yourself. But another aspect that I consider you a master in is YouTube. And I'm very excited to spend some time to pick your brain about YouTube in general, because you have two very successful channels that are quite different. Your personal brand, Pat Flynn channel, how old is that, Pat? When did you start that one?
That started in 2009, so a very long time ago. That was a year after I started my blog and a year before I started my podcast.
Okay. So 12, 13 years, 300, as of right now, 375,000 subscribers, closing in on 25 million views. You have a brand new channel. I would consider new, right? Deep Pocket Monster, is it about 2 years old? Less than 2 years?
It's 2 years old, started in January of 2021. So yeah, 18 months, 19 months now.
Yeah, that is closing in on 300,000 subscribers. But get this, everybody, if you're not in the Pokemon world, 65 million plus views. So you have two different channels, very successful in different ways, I imagine, very different customer types, which I think is very common with all content strategies, but particularly YouTube. I want to ask you a personal question right now, Pat, because you're fairly new with the Deep Pocket Monster channel. And I remember in our first conversation, you said you were feeling those feelings of imposter syndrome a little bit. It was such a new thing for you. How are you feeling right now, though? Are you still in like the honeymoon phase of the success and growth of this channel so far?
Oh yeah. I mean, it's interesting because it's a new channel. It's different than the Pat Flynn one. Like you said, this is more of an entertainment based channel based on a niche topic, Pokemon, which actually I wasn't even into when I was a kid. I was into Magic the Gathering. I got into Pokemon during the pandemic, like many other people, but thanks to my kids mostly. And then they stopped. And then I kept going with it and I went really deep with it. And the YouTube channel has just been amazing. So I don't have those feelings of imposter syndrome here because I dealt with those up front. And what I mean by that is I said, I'm not going to pretend to be somebody who I'm not here. I'm just going to be fully me no matter what. That's something that took me years to figure out on the other channel and just in my business in general. Just, hey, if you're you'll attract the right people. Your vibe will attract your tribe. But you have to find out what position you're in the market. You need to figure out what's unique to what you have to offer. So I knew how to approach that in this space, being a big consumer of a lot of other people's content in this space. So I clearly saw some holes and I filled in those holes. And it's been an amazing ride and experience to a point where now Pokemon, the company, it's the largest media franchise in the world. They're sending me product now before anybody else gets to see it. Only a few other creators get access to things like that. So they're recognizing the channel now. And the funny thing is I'll go out into public now. I was at Home Depot a couple weeks ago and a person comes up to me and he goes, "Oh my gosh, Pat Flynn, what's up?" And I'm like,
you're like, "Did you take one of my SPI courses or something?" He's like,
exactly.
"No."
I have to like, do you watch the Pokemon channel or do you follow the entrepreneurial stuff? And he actually followed the Pokemon channel. So all the stuff I talk about in Superfans, my book, I implemented here. I'm following it to a T and it's working. And it's great because I'm coming out with a second edition of Superfans that now includes this case study of Deep Pocket Monster in there. But it's great because I have both spectrums, right? I have the very informational, educational Pat Flynn channel and what's working there and what works for channels like that. And now I have a new case study in the more entertainment sort of space. But I'm learning about both and how they can both sort of feed into each other, which is really interesting too.
Oh gosh, it's so cool. And I'm kind of curious because I feel like with something like Pokemon, I don't know that industry at all. That was never my thing per se, but I would imagine there's a lot of different channels you could have chosen to dive into. What was it about YouTube that, I mean, I would imagine you could go TikTok, you could do, I mean, obviously I'm sure you're repurposing content now, I would imagine, but, or do you have different social medias for that? Like what was YouTube? Why was YouTube the channel you wanted to focus on?
You know, I did think and consider TikTok because it's the fastest growing platform. The algorithm's insane and you can get in front of millions of people rather quickly with very low quality video, just really good entertaining stuff. But YouTube is where you could build a community, right? You could build a community on YouTube. You can bring people in. They start to build a relationship with you. I don't necessarily, when I consume TikTok content, I'm not necessarily even building a relationship with those people. It just feels more like thumb flipping and that's it. And then I'm entertained and then I move on to the next one. Versus on YouTube, I want people to binge watch my content. And so what happens is I'll notice that the same person comments on like 10 different videos all in a row. And I know exactly what happened. They caught one video, they got into it, and then just YouTube served them the next video, and then YouTube served them the next video and the next video. Because YouTube has an algorithm that's incredible. And I feel when you compare the algorithms, yes, TikTok might be a little bit stronger for getting in front of people, but in terms of serving the next perfect video for the person who's in your audience, hopefully yours, YouTube is by far the right choice. In addition to that, YouTube, you can go a little bit longer and tell stories a little bit better, and there's a lot more just history with YouTube and how people have become successful on there. And also digging into the financials, you know, there's YouTube AdSense or ads that you can be a part of, the YouTube Partner Program once you hit 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of watch time, which sounds like a lot, but if you're getting to be consistent on the platform and you have 1,000 subscribers, you'll get to 4,000 hours of watch time in the previous year, no problem. And so we hit that in a couple months on the new channel. But there are some amazing financial opportunities on YouTube that aren't available on TikTok. I know some TikTok users, for example, who have millions of subscribers, and they're making change compared to what people are making on YouTube. And the cool thing about YouTube is you don't need a huge following. You don't need tens of thousands of subscribers. I mean, if you had just 1,000 subscribers who were fans of what you do, they appreciate your art, your craft, your education, whatever it is, and they're watching every video and they're getting to know you and dive deeper into what you have to offer. I mean, those people become lifetime customers often in the educational space. So, you don't need a blockbuster hit. You just need to create valuable content and show up consistently. And the visual aspect of YouTube also beyond because I also was like, oh, I'm an expert podcaster. I've created successful podcasts. Can I create a Pokemon podcast? Some of them do exist, but it wouldn't have as far wide of a reach because the podcasting space doesn't have that algorithm like YouTube does.
Well, I think one thing there are a lot of things that you said in there were really, really interesting. And I think really impactful for my audience of web designers who might be considering YouTube as an option for content marketing. I think what I got from that too is that you could do so much with your YouTube videos as well. Like you can split those up and multi-purpose your content for TikTok or for Instagram and potentially lead them back to the YouTube channel if that's where you want a lot of your potential customers to go. And I think one thing that's interesting too, and this is what I found as an online educator, the customer behavior is so different on YouTube than it is on any social media, because with social media, you're pretty much interrupting people and just reminding people of who you are, what you do. YouTube is so much an educational platform, depending on the industry. And I'm actually kind of curious, do you find, how are people finding you on YouTube? Is it just because the Pokemon world is interested in that long form content? Or, I'm just kind of curious. I would think that, I don't know the average age of the Pokemon user, but I would think they'd probably be on social media way more than YouTube. But maybe YouTube is just a different type of outlet for them. Is that what they're interested in? The longer form, engaging content?
YouTube is similar to a blog and a podcast in the sense that this is the home base, longer form content place to create that kind of content. The social media stuff is either clips, like you said, from those places, shared so that you can, yes, interrupt people, but remind them about what you have to offer and hopefully come back, or a place to just connect even further with the audience who finds you on those places on your hub. As far as findability, it's interesting. Most of the viewers are coming from recommended views.
Gotcha.
That's browse and suggested. That means when people sign into their homepage of YouTube and they go just to youtube.com, YouTube feeds them what they believe will be the videos that person will click on. And as a creator, that's super cool because you have the opportunity to get on people's homepages, whether they're a subscriber or not. In fact, if you're doing YouTube right, most of your views are coming from people who aren't subscribed. The subscriber numbers are just a byproduct of the growth of your channel and the views that are being pushed out there for you. Because YouTube, here's the thing, let's break down to what YouTube wants. YouTube wants people to stay on YouTube. So when you create videos that A, people click on, and B, people stick on, so the click and stick strategy, they're watching all the way through, YouTube will be like, hey, this is awesome. Josh's videos are keeping people on the platform. Let's put Josh's video in front of more people like the viewers that just saw this. And so what you'll see is huge impressions that YouTube will serve you in front of people who they believe would prefer your video. And what's awesome about this is when you think about it, well, that makes sense because YouTube, they want to make more money. How do they make more money? They keep people watching videos and then those ads show up. So when you help YouTube in that way, YouTube's going to help you back. And every time that I've created, there's so much to learn about YouTube. It's absolutely insane and overwhelming. So I don't learn everything. I only learn and teach the things that are important. So in terms of analytics, your click-through rates on your videos, which is basically your title and thumbnail, so important. Master those and you're going to be so far ahead of most people. So title and thumbnail, that's the click part. And then the stick part is just your hook and then your retention. How long can you keep people watching that video? And those are the only data points that you really need to pay attention to. And when you start to increase for those, and every time you create a new video, you try to get a better click-through rate or have better retention, better storytelling, better hooks. YouTube is going to help you out so much. This last video that I published, or 2 videos ago that I published on the Deep Pocket Monster channel, it saw 1 million views in 6 days. This was an absolute record for us. But we created 20 different thumbnail variations for that and title variations just to make sure that it was something click-worthy. And then telling the story in a way that kind of got people into what was being spoken about or what they clicked for right away. That's another mistake that a lot of YouTubers make, especially because we as a society are just having shorter attention spans, thanks to the likes of TikTok and Shorts and Instagram Reels and such. Like, people want the thing that they clicked for almost immediately. So you'll see, for example, like a Mr. Beast video, he'll have like a challenge or something. You don't even know all the rules before the challenge has already started. He then reveals the rules and unveils more of the situation as it's going along. If he spent a minute up front telling you exactly what was going to go on and then went into the challenge, you've already lost a ton of people up front because of our short attention spans. So in this video with the Pokemon stuff, which was a video to complete a binder in 24 hours, I'm already calling a store to see if they have singles for sale in the first 10 seconds before I reveal how many more I need left, which ones exactly, and what's at stake. So there's a lot of things like that that are relevant now in the world of YouTube that are different than when I started my other channel, which was, let me just put as much information on YouTube as possible about this thing, and people will find it via search. Search traffic is actually the least, or one of the least sort of repositories for where traffic comes from. It's when you get that suggested traffic, people watch a video and then they get suggested the next one. And the beauty is, like, you can piggyback off of other videos that already exist on YouTube, because if YouTube sees that your audience for this video is similar to an audience that another person has, they'll finish that other person's video and then recommend your video. So we'll see sometimes spikes of 200,000 views coming in 2 or 3 days from other people's videos who have millions of views, because the content is similar and the audience is similar and they behave similarly. So again, there's a lot happening under the hood. And my goal when teaching YouTube is just to simplify it. And I'm sure we'll go through the process and the step-by-steps today. But it's just so exciting. Like, man, people are changing their own lives being on YouTube and finding more leads for their business. And it's, I mean, it's always been here, right? But I think that now that we're seeing like the strategy for how do we get viewers to come over and see our products and be an authority in a space, like, I mean, video is where things are headed. I mean, it's always been, and it's just more and more of that is coming.
Well, this is such a timely conversation for not only my audience, because I talk with a lot of my web design students who are trying to figure out where they want to do content and how they want to educate or attract their potential clients. Mm-hmm. But for me personally, I don't know if you know this, Pat, but I really got my start with this web design stuff on YouTube. I started posting video tutorials on the tools I was using. Now, my focus over the past few years has really shifted down into what you see right here on my mic flag, the business side of web design. But I really built my YouTube channel as a, web designer coach, teaching people tools and stuff, which I have a lot of questions about how to go to the next step with YouTube. But this is reinvigorating me. And my plan is to take 2023 to really reinvigorate and re-energize my YouTube presence, because I feel like I've kind of let it wane. So it's a great reminder that YouTube has so many built-in benefits. Like, it's I don't want to say it's free advertising, but as long as you do a good video that's going to answer a question or engage people, YouTube really does the work for you, right? As long as you have a good title, good thumbnail, good best practices that, you just mentioned that you have in your YouTube course that I'm sure we'll talk about. But as long as you do the basic things it needs, it can kind of be your sales tool, right?
Oh, absolutely. YouTube is the new Google, in my opinion. When you look for answers on how to do something, are you looking on Google? Or are you looking on YouTube? In most cases, in many cases, at least for me, when I'm trying to like fix something around the house that I don't know how to do, or I'm looking up some answer to something, I go to YouTube. It's a huge repository for answers, and you can create those answers for questions that people are asking. And if they see your answer, they like the answer, they go deeper into it, they could become clients down the road, right? Yeah. It is such an amazing opportunity for people who have clientele, because it's something that helps prove your authority on that space. So people can actually get a preview of what you have to offer more personally if they were to hire you one-on-one, for example. Number two, it's just a great way for also you as a creator to answer questions without you having to in real time answer those questions. You can answer those common questions up front. One of my favorite strategies for any educational YouTuber is create a video that just answers the most common questions, right? And do it in the right format, do it well, like we'll talk about in a sec. But when a person asks a question, now you can just send them to your video and they're already getting the best version of that answer. Or if a person is on your website, hey, why don't we have our FAQ be filled with these videos. And now people are seeing our faces and getting to trust us a little bit more. And now we're going to be more likely to take advantage of offers we send them.
Yeah, that's definitely a rule that I employed years ago when I found myself answering the same question with clients or with web design students. If I answered the same question 2 or 3 times, I made it a point to make it a video or a podcast episode now. So I could always just repurpose it and replug it. And then it builds that authority, which is so key. And I think a lot of people listening might feel like, I'm not going to be a Pat Flynn with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. But you mentioned it earlier, Pat, you don't need a huge audience to make a very big impact with your YouTube videos. And they don't have to be super fancy either. My first tutorials were just me and a screen recording, no camera, just my Blue Yeti mic and my laptop. Same with you. And you have all your first videos on your Pat Flynn channel, right?
Oh yeah. Don't go watch them. They're really embarrassing, but
I'm going to link them. We're going to link the very first few.
I mean, you should, because it shows you, we all got to start somewhere, and you got to be a disaster before you become the master. And, you often hear this on YouTube is just create, and don't worry about being perfect. Answer the questions, provide value, use the strategies to, create the videos in a good, compelling way, and a nice title and a thumbnail, and you'll be good. I mean, you're going to start to see results rather quickly if you're doing it right. You could have 0 subscribers, and then your next video could have millions of views, right? But again, you don't even need millions of views. These videos are still helpful for your brand, still helpful for your audience. And these videos are very evergreen, especially in the educational space. My podcasting tutorials, which I have updated every few years, but I've been seeing views from videos that I've created back in 2009 still.
That's how our relationship started. Is I heard you on my business coach, James Ramko's podcast. And then I Googled you and then Googled some other podcasting, and you always came up under podcasting tutorials. So I was like, Pat seems legit. I got into one of your webinars, and then bam, I'm in the course, and here we are, a few years later, rest is history. But it's a really interesting point, because there is a very big difference between both of your channels with your customer types. Like the Pat Flynn channel, I imagine you're making way more money and profiting from that by people joining your courses and your other offers rather than just watching a video. Whereas Deep Pocket Monster, are you selling anything, or is the end goal just to keep them on your videos? Is that how you're monetizing this?
I mean, the Pokemon channel is making most of its revenue just from AdSense ads on those videos, right? Through the YouTube Partner Program. I do sell merch. Like I have some sweatshirts and stuff, which we've sold a bunch of, but mostly it's that. Also, we have channel members. So I go live once a week and I do giveaways and we open packs and stuff. It's really fun and exciting. It's a way for the community to come together, and people will pay $2.99 a month, similar to like a Patreon type of model. They get access to member-only live streams, member-only things. I have nearly 2,000 members paying $2.99 a month. So it's awesome. Actually quite a bit of money coming in on the Pokemon stuff. And I have an event coming next year in 2023 that I'm putting together, which is going to be pretty amazing. Probably not going to make money off of that, but it's more of a way to just give back to the community and, grow the channel even more and cross promote with the different creators that are there. But the interesting thing about the Pokemon channel is, as far as the views, you'd mentioned earlier that the views are way more. But as far as ads are concerned on the videos, I'm making way less per 1,000 views. So the CPM, or the cost per milli, or cost per 1,000, or the revenue per milli on the Deep Pocket Monster channel is like $9. I've seen on the Pat Flynn channel, it's sometimes up to $55 per 1,000 views.
Wow.
And the reason is because just advertisers who are buying for that particular audience type, right, which is very much a higher income generation, a little bit older, et cetera, they're going to be paying more. Thus, I get a little bit more take home from that. So if you have a business channel, especially web related channel, I mean, when you unlock ads down the road, you'll see a pretty significant CPM coming through. And some of those videos might what we call pop and see millions of views. It just hits the right notes and gets out there. I mean, you can make significant money. I've had some videos on the Pat Flynn channel with over 1 million views that have seen, $20,000, $30,000 just from one single video. And that's just from ads. But like you said, most of the revenue for the Pat Flynn stuff is coming as a result of people finding those videos, getting to know me and my brand, and then diving deeper into my offerings and my course catalog, right? And so that's where most of the money is coming from. So the ad revenue on the Pat Flynn stuff is kind of really just a bonus, right? I actually had ads off for a very long time because I was like, I don't want people to get distracted by the ads and then not see my course stuff. But I've seen no downside of it, just including ads anyway. Most people are used to seeing those ads and can skip them if they want. So
I also think it shows some level of legitimacy. Same thing with like sponsors for podcasts, which I'm getting into now as well. It's like, nice. It shows you, especially with YouTube, you have to be at a certain point to be able to even monetize your channel. So I think there's plenty of benefits to that. I felt the same way when I initiated my ads about 2 years ago, when I did the AdSense stuff. My CPM is $48. I just looked. There you go. So I'm so glad you mentioned that, because again, I kind of like that we're having a bit of a case study with two different channels, because YouTube treats it differently. Now they're equally, maybe not equally successful, but they're successful in their own right, but in their own different way, which is fascinating. I'm kind of curious, I hate the term success because it's, there's so much ambiguity to it, but what do you look at when you want to see if your channel is working well? Do you look at subscribers, or do you look at views? Do you look at the whole picture? Like, do you look at watch time? What are the most important metrics to see if your work on YouTube is working?
Yeah, I don't pay attention to subscriber count. I mean, that's just a vanity number, really. And most of the success on YouTube will come as a result of two things. I mean, there are some things to look at to kind of gauge whether or not things are going well. Obviously, views, and not just views like of your videos, but your videos compared to other videos. Right. So when you publish a YouTube video, after you build a little bit of a catalog, I mean, even like 2 or 3 videos, you'll start to see when you publish a video, it'll immediately within the first 15 minutes tell you how that video is performing at that time, 15 minutes versus other videos within that same time frame. So really quickly, you'll start to see it's ranking, 1 out of 10 based on your previous 10 videos. Awesome. We're doing something right here. And if that's the case, I go, okay, well, what worked this time? What can we do the next time to make sure that still continues true? Maybe it was a really good title thumbnail. Maybe the people are retaining through that video. We'll talk about that in a sec. If it's a 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10, or 10 out of 10, then typically what we do is we'll change the title or thumbnail immediately. Especially if it's within that first hour, you start to see it's a low performing video. It's most likely because people are seeing it across their screen and not clicking on it. Thus, YouTube's not going to send it out to more people. They will only send it out to more people if people are clicking on those videos. So let's change the title and thumbnail. What we had wasn't working. And this is why we spend a little bit of time thinking about the title and thumbnail before even filming the video, which we'll talk about when we come to production and such. The other metrics that's really key are watch time, right? Watch time through the video, average view, percentage, how many people are getting to the end of the video. And I found that when you optimize for that, a lot of things will start working in your favor. So what's really beautiful is YouTube will show you literally a line graph that represents the time of your video, and you'll see the retention rate through that video, and it'll go down typically over time. It only goes up if people start to rewatch certain parts. So if you do see a spike in your retention graph, that's a part that was really interesting to people. Go back and see what that was so you can do more of that kind of stuff. And it's just interesting to see that behavior from your audience. But typically you'll see a bar or a line graph that goes down, and it should go down gradually. If you start to see it kind of being very steep, there's something there that just wasn't working. If it's a cliff dive, then you said something that really made people want to leave. So pay attention to that. But the more that you can keep people throughout that video, the better, which means we need to have a really good hook. How might you keep people intrigued? And the biggest question I ask for people is, well, what's at stake here? How can you create a video and then within the first 10 to 15 seconds, tell people what's at stake? Why should they stick around to the end? What would they lose if they were to leave early? In the Pokemon space, it's a little bit easier to do this because you can create challenges. You could there's inherent mystery in the box of Pokemon I'm opening. It might be the big expensive card inside and you have to wait to the end to see. But how can you create something similar within a more educational thing, right? So if it's even like a list thing, hey, top 5 things web designers should look for. In the beginning, you better say something like, well, make sure to stick around because all 5 of these are very important. If you miss even just one of them, you could cut your revenue in half. Oh my gosh, I have to stay for the whole thing now, right? Kind of thing. So that like doing that really quick up front. Big mistakes that people make with their YouTube channels is welcoming people back to the channel in the very beginning. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the channel. My name is Pat Flynn. I teach this, this, and this. 20 seconds in, you're welcoming people back. And again, most of the views that are coming in should be people who are discovering you for the first time if you're doing it right, because that means YouTube's pushing your video out to new people. And if you start the video by welcoming people back, there's already a disconnect. And if you're already introducing yourself and what you do, it's not what people click for. They don't care about you when they first find you. They care about the thing that they're clicking for, the thing that came across their home screen or the next recommended video. So that's why I said earlier, get right into the content as soon as you can. You can then begin to introduce yourself throughout, or even at the end when you've earned that ability to tell people what you're doing and what you're all about. Deliver value first, then ask.
I wanted to just tactile ask about the introduction, because I've always warred with myself over this with my YouTube stuff, and I've experimented differently. In my early tutorials, it was like, hey, I'm Josh, I'll teach you web design, blah, blah, blah. Right. Here we go. And then later on, I would do an introduction very late in the video or not at all. And then I found some success with videos where I would say, here's what we're going to do. If, I tried to add in the urgency and the reason to stay. And then, by the way, I'm Josh, blah, 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 blah. Now here we go. What is your favorite strategy out of those? Or is there a time and place for however you or wherever you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my favorite thing to do, and it's not always possible, but sometimes I try to do it, is to show the thing that people are clicking for right in the beginning, but not reveal exactly how it happened or what it is. And it's like, then I go into what the video is going to help them with, right? But they kind of have an idea of already what they want to click on. So for example, I did a video showing a tool within or it's actually a feature of a tool called Descript. Descript is an amazing tool for recording audio, recording video. There's a really specialized tool within there in the Pro plan called Overdub, where you can actually upload minutes or hours of your voice, and then you can type something and it will say it in your voice. It's like very scary, actually. Creepy. And so it is very creepy, right? So I had the option of, this is how I approached that video. I was like, okay, well, I want to feature that thing because it's really interesting. How can we create a video that would capture people's attention? Do I call it overdubs or Descript's overdub feature is crazy, scary, and cool, right? Or something like that. In which case, people would already have to know what overdub is to be interested in clicking on that. So I could take that approach. That would be what I call a search-based video approach. So people searching for Descript's overdub would then hopefully find that and click on it. And there's a connection there between what they're searching for and what they're finding. Versus the approach that I took, which was I want people to come across this video on their home or recommendation and be so intrigued that they need to click on this. And so I titled the video, "This audio tool deep faked my voice. Scary or useful?"
I think I watched that. I remember you posted that, and I was very intrigued.
Right. And so at the very beginning of the video, I showed the tool already being used. I could have said, hey, my name is Pat Flynn. I teach this. I discovered this tool the other day. It's really scary. It's really interesting. I'm going to show you how to use it and what it does. Let me show you how it works real quick. Already people are disinterested because that may or may not be intriguing to them, versus I just showed it being used. So the beginning of the video is me typing something and then clicking a button, and then it says it in my voice. And it's like already mind-blowing. And then I go into the explanation. Hey, the other day I found this tool and it's really interesting. And I want you to tell me at the end of this video whether or not you think this is something that's actually useful and you'd find some value in, or is this going to lead to the doom of the world or something like that, right? And then I show the tutorial on how to do it in process. Now that video, it also had an affiliate link for Descript. And within a month, it saw 1.1 million views. And I've been able to make $25,000 in affiliate revenue from just mentioning Descript in it and having my affiliate link inside of the description. So again, that was a video that was, the approach was, hey, let me show you what this is, and then I'll explain it. Another one is I did a video, this is the Pat Flynn channel, where I wanted to feature a tool that I use for live streaming called Ecamm Live. It's a really amazing tool for live streaming. But I took the approach of finding... I wanted people who were looking for a streaming tool to then discover this tool versus people who already knew this tool existed. So the title of the video was Best Live Streaming Software for Mac. And that's it. And the very beginning of the video was me showing a dashboard and how like I could just click a one button and go live. So I've already proven that this thing is so easy to use in the first 5 seconds. Now I then go and explain what this is and how it works and how simple it is to set up. Again, the explanation and who I am came later because people are clicking for the best tool. Boom, I showed you the best tool. Now let me show you all about it after. So that approach has worked really, really well.
And I'm curious, do you introduce yourself at some point in most all of your videos on the Pat Flynn channel, or is it, well, I guess it's self-branded, so I'm sure if people see it, it's probably going to be Pat Flynn. Do you just kind of let people get over to your intro video or find your brand at some point?
Yeah, I mean, the intro, like they'll figure out who you are eventually the more they go into this stuff. Like I think that it's worth mentioning who you are and how you can help them more toward the end of the video. Most of my earlier videos are me starting off the video with who I am and what I'm about. And I've learned to switch that up and get right into the content that they're there for first, and then make an introduction at least at some point before I leave and a call to action to subscribe.
Gotcha.
Typically at the end, I say like, hey, by the way, if you like this video, my name is Pat Flynn. I help entrepreneurs like you do such and such a little easier. Click subscribe so you don't miss out on other things that are going to help you generate more content and generate more revenue.
Beautiful.
And, you know, the reason people subscribe is not for the video they just watched. People subscribe for the videos that they know are coming. There's a big difference there, right? And so if they watch a video, that kind of proves that you kind of know what you're talking about, but you have to still provide a call to action for what's to come for them. And that's why people subscribe. We don't subscribe to a newsletter for the newsletter that we just read. We subscribe to a newsletter for the newsletters that are coming and the value that will be provided to us. And this is why if you have a YouTube channel, staying niche specific is very key. This was a big problem that I had with the Pat Flynn channel, in fact, and a big struggle was I talk about all kinds of different things. So a person might find me for a podcasting video, for example, but then I come out with an SEO related video. Well, that podcast person's not necessarily going to be interested in it. And then that signals to YouTube, hey, most of your viewers aren't really clicking on this. We're not going to send this to the remaining viewers, and, we'll try with some other groups of people. And then sometimes they find the right people, sometimes they don't, but that's where it's a struggle. With the Pokemon channel, because it's very clear what you're going to get when you see a Pat Flynn Deep Pocket Monster video, it is like one where within the first 20 seconds of that video being live, I already have 50 comments of people saying first, or I'm here to watch, like, notification squad, etc., because they know what to expect. And so if you can niche down and build an audience of people who just are absolutely ready to look forward to the next video, then that's how you can gain a lot of momentum.
I'm kind of curious because YouTube has really added so many features for the community aspect between going live, all the aspects you've been talking about with community chats and the ability to subscribe and all these other things. I'm kind of curious. I wonder if my audience is thinking their clientele would never be in the community side of things. Do you think they would be better off? I mean, do you think there's room for people in a service-based business like web design to have some sort of community building? Or do you think the emphasis should be more on education and more like, long tail type keyword type of solutions? What's your thoughts on that?
For an educational clientele-based business, I wouldn't focus on the live streaming. I wouldn't focus on the community building that's on the native platform of YouTube. I would build a community on my own platform, like Circle, for example, which is a little bit more professional. It's outside of the noise of YouTube, and you can just hyper focus on that thing. This is like our version of SPI Pro, right? We have SPI Pro to bring those people who are interested in entrepreneurship together in a spot that's like hyper focused on that thing. And you could likely charge more for access to that. And essentially it also acts as a filter for your clients to be able to know that, hey, everybody who's there who is a client or a member of that community is similar, shares the same values or has the same goals and are there because of this person and the shared value that we all have. And so that's what I would recommend for somebody who's building clients is to find opportunities to bring those clients together in a way that is a little bit more professional. I mean, it might even not be online. It might just be, hey, in November, we're going to have a 2-day retreat for all of the clients who want to come, and you'll be able to meet each other, and we're going to mastermind together. It costs this much, and we're going to meet in person. And maybe that's it. I think offering some way for those community members to meet each other is important, but like the YouTube features and the memberships there, that's more I find useful for entertainment-based channels.
Gotcha.
That being said, there is one particular channel, a woman who's a lawyer who has just blown up recently. She goes live and teaches while live. And that works with her format because what she's teaching is law, but she's also teaching law on top of very popular pop culture-based cases that are happening, like the Johnny Depp case. And so she'll be live while things are happening and then telling her audience what's going on. And she's also very entertaining person. And she can sometimes get upwards of 7,000 to 8,000 people watching live at the same time. And she's got thousands of members who pay because they just want to support her. And that's her version of Patreon, right?
Gotcha.
Is the channel memberships. But for your clients and everybody listening, I would expect that, focus on YouTube as your repository for your very valuable content and answering people's questions and to build authority so that you can get people from YouTube into an email list. I would recommend to get something of value to then be able to have conversations with them and lead them into some sort of offer.
This is such good sound advice because YouTube is so like multi-featured and multi-beneficial because you can make a YouTube video and it can go in so many different places. And as a web designer, of course, I say your home should be your website. But for example, this happened to me with a lot of my clients. If they asked me a question and I had a tutorial on it, I would send them the YouTube tutorial, or I might have it embedded in my website. They would go to YouTube and they would see a bunch of other tutorials I had posted. And they're like, wow, Josh really knows his stuff. Let me see some more. And then suddenly the next time they're on YouTube, they might see another one of my videos, and it can just spiral like that. It adds that trust, authority, and all the likability sometimes too, because they get to know you before they would even potentially work with you. I hope this is a good reminder that you don't need to be Pat Flynn and have the deep pocket monster channel to make YouTube a successful avenue for you. Like, you really can use it on a very low level in a lot of different ways. Now, I do think you mentioned something there that's key, Pat, and we can get into the weeds on some of this stuff as well, but I kind of like hitting all of these like roundabout aspects of YouTube.
Yeah.
One is consistency, because I really struggle with the idea of, like, podcasting is the perfect example of something ideally you'd want to pump out at least once a week to keep people coming back. Do you have that same mindset with YouTube, or do you feel like you could potentially do YouTube in batches and have like several videos come out in a short amount of time that would last for a while? What's your thoughts on consistency in YouTube?
I would recommend once per week to start out with and be consistent with that. If you do them in batches, the reason why I don't say just explode with a whole bunch of videos and then kind of chill out for a little bit and then do it again is because the recommendation engine is really what's at your service here. And you even just mentioned, like, people watching one of your videos, and when you come out with the next video, that video will be served to that person, and that video YouTube will go out and for you, like, for free, see who else is out there in the world of YouTube who might like your video. If you come out with way too many videos, YouTube starts to get confused. Well, which one do you want me to like help you out with? And the reason why I say like stay consistent also is because you start to develop a rhythm as far as creating your videos and the procedure for that, as well as just you remain on top of people's minds. You could definitely overwhelm people. Also, I know there was a period of time where I did a video per day for 30 days. And by the end, the videos just weren't getting a ton of views because I was putting less effort into the quality of them because I just wanted to come out with them. And B, I even got comments from people saying, Pat, you're like, I can't keep up with all your videos. They're really helpful, but I just feel overwhelmed because you're teaching me so much stuff. And I was trying to do what you told me in video 7 and you're already on video 28. So this is why, especially for educational based stuff, like once, maybe twice per week, so you can give the algorithm a kickstart, and then just try to remain consistent. Do what you can. I mean, even if it's once a month, but the video is really, really good and helps people out, that'll work too. I mean, people like Mr. Beast and Mark Rober and Ryan Trahan, a few of the biggest top YouTubers, they only create a video like once a month. Now, they are spending a lot of money on creating sets and all this other stuff. I mean, it's a whole different level of YouTube, but again, it just shows you that you just need to create quality content. And quality doesn't mean you need to spend a lot of money on it. Quality means it's exactly the right level of information and also entertainment. I think that's where anybody can stand out as an educator on YouTube, is when you add a little bit of entertainment on top of it, right? Like infotainment, I think is what they call it. And I think that's really key and can help you stand out.
Well, and you talked about this in a recent podcast episode on the Smart Passive Income podcast, where content creation often gets confused with publishing. And as you've learned in your experience, and I'm learning more and more now, just because you have something go out once a week doesn't mean that you create it once a week. This is such an important tip for people who are overwhelmed and daunted by doing any sort of content creation, because immediately some of my students might be like, okay, YouTube sounds awesome. I love the idea of educating, even on a small level, but I don't know if I can commit to something once a week. But you can batch record, and you could batch record it, but then schedule it out for once a week for a month. I would highly recommend at least somebody give some light at the end of the tunnel and give yourself like a challenge. This is how I started my YouTube channel. I don't know if I ever told you this, Pat, because I was overwhelmed of doing something constantly and seeing no end in sight. So I gave myself 3 months. I said 3 months, I'm going to do a tutorial once a week. If I can do the math on that, 12 videos. And that's my light at the end of the tunnel. I was going to give myself this challenge. And I learned to create like 2 or 3 videos a week. And then I'm good for a few weeks if I wanted to. I could focus on the other aspects of distributing that. That helped me so much with staying consistent, because I had some light at the end of the tunnel. And then eventually I just kept on going because I got used to the rhythm of like once or twice a month, just doing a few different tutorial videos. Have you have any other tips like that? With particularly in the beginning days to stay consistent without overwhelm?
Yeah, I mean, batch processing is absolutely a must. And the cool thing about batch processing also is, I mean, I know some people who record their entire month's worth of videos in one day. They just schedule a day. All they're doing that day is YouTube. And like they wake up that day, their mindset is, hey, I'm going to go through and try to, get 8 videos done, 8 answers to 8 different questions all in one sitting. And then I'm done for the entire month, right? I can, spend the next week editing these videos and batch process that, or hand them off to somebody to edit for you. And they're already done. And then you can just chill. That is also great because there are some days where you're just not in the right mood or just not in the right mindset to create. And you can just not create on those days without feeling the pressure of, I need to get something out. And that when you start to feel that sort of weight of that content hamster wheel, it becomes like unhealthy pressure for us. And then we start to just pump content out that probably isn't the best quality because we just, again, like I said earlier, we just want to come out with it. So other tips is to also batch process your creative thinking of what these videos are going to be about. So I often will take some time, maybe like 2 or 3 hours in a particular day of the week or month even, to just go, okay, well, let's just think of videos. And I often try to get in a room with my editor or a Zoom call with, whoever might be involved so that we can just jam on it. And when you do that, you use the creative side of your brain. No editing. Do not edit. Do not discount any ideas. All ideas are on the table. You just spew them out there. And through that muck, through that nasty, you're going to find some good stuff. Yeah. And I think that's really key to have that sort of like space for yourself to do that, because then you can take the good ones and put them in a spreadsheet. And then you can determine, okay, well, what's the order of these? And like, how do we now create a good title for these, right? Like start with seed ideas first. Don't try to come up with the perfect title as you're coming up with the video ideas, because that's the coming up with the title is the editing part of the brain, right? Let's have a space to be creative and just like get nasty and come up with any kind of thing, and then get the good parts, and those become the seeds for your videos later. That has been super helpful. And like some of our ideas that seemed ridiculous have ended up becoming some of the best videos, because once they're kind of nuanced and once the title comes into play, the title will often inform how the video is filmed. Actually, this was another huge difference that saved a lot of time and saved a lot of just creation with not seeing results. And that is actually, and I do this now with podcasting. I do this now with blogging. And that is, after you have that sort of seed idea session, come up with the title of that video first. And then if it's not interesting or clickable enough, don't film it. Traditionally, I would write content and then later film content, and then try to figure out the title for it and try to force something or try to create something interesting. And it often felt like not exactly the right title, or it was feeling clickbaity because it wasn't exactly about what the content was about, because I'm trying to force a good title on after. But now we're switching to, well, let's create a title. And then once that title is clickable enough, let's go create that video. For example, on the Pokemon channel, I had an idea, a seed idea from one of these sessions to just do fun arts and crafts with the energy cards, which are like the most plentiful cards. Nobody wants them. They're just piles in people's closets usually. Like 5 things you can do with your energy cards, like arts and crafts. That's the seed idea. Initially, it's like, oh, well, that idea alone wouldn't be enough. We have to create something around that idea to be clickable enough. So, okay, well, let's just come up with a bunch of different titles. And eventually we got to the point where we created a challenge on top of that. So I would do like one of the things to do with the energy cards was like, use them like playing cards, and you can do trick shots with them, like throw them across the room and try to land them in a hat or like between a clothespin or something. So we made that like the center of the video. And the title of the video is Impossible Trick Shot with Pokemon Cards or Lose $900 Card. It's like, oh my, like what's going on? I have to click on this. And so this informed, again, the seed idea was just arts and crafts or things to do with your energy cards. This informed a whole video that my son got involved with, where he challenged me to land this trick shot by the end of the day, or else I'd lose this really expensive card. But then like I got distracted, or my arm got tired trying to throw the card in. So I like built a table out of the Pokemon cards, or I created earrings with my daughter using these Pokemon cards. And then I'd be like, oh crap, the challenge, I got to go back. And it just became this really interesting video that took you through this, journey of creating these different arts and crafts projects, but through a story that was all informed from, well, what's the title going to be that would be clickable? Okay, let's go and film that video now.
Gotcha.
And it's just helped out so much. And I do that even with the Pat Flynn channel now. It's not quite as, I'm going to create some crazy Mr. Beast-like story behind it, but still, it helps inform how am I going to shoot this video to support the title that at least now has a chance to be clicked on because I've given it some thought.
And I would love to spend a couple minutes on the thumbnail versus the title, because I was very guilty in the early days of doing the exact same title in the thumbnail as I had on the actual title of the video.
The text is the same?
The text is the same, yeah. But the beauty is it can be completely different. What are your thoughts on, is one more important than the other? Should the title inform and the YouTube or the thumbnail attract? What are your thoughts on those two really important aspects of YouTube videos?
I mean, again, those are the only 2 things you have to work with before anybody watches any second of your video, right? So you could have the best video in the world. If you don't get a clickable title and thumbnail, then you might as well not even shoot the video. That's how important it is. I know I went to Vid Summit, which is a conference in Los Angeles that a lot of the top YouTube creators come to. And in 2019, Mr. Beast was going to go and speak on stage, and he was going to reveal the secret of his success with his growing YouTube channel. And I was so excited. I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to tell us like exactly how how it's done. The whole 1.5 hour presentation was about thumbnails. That's it. It was all about thumbnails, because he was right. It's the first thing people see. And the title and thumbnail need to play with each other. They need to kind of work together. If you use the same text in the title or as you do in the thumbnail, it's just a waste. People are going to see that text in one spot or the other. So I like to use the thumbnail to show an action that's happening in that video, or something that would get a person to go, wait, what is that? I need to click on this to find out. And so it shouldn't reveal the whole answer. Like for the video that was the best eCam or the best live streaming software for Mac, I showed the dashboard, and the text on the thumbnail said super easy, because I wanted to show people that this was something easy to use. If I just said best live streaming software for Mac on the title, and then also best live streaming software for Mac or Mac streaming software or something that was similar, it's just wasted real estate. Now I zoom in on some of the key components that show this is easy, and an arrow that points to a button to show how easy it is. And those 2 things together tell a story that a person now has to unlock by clicking the video. And that's really the secret there. How can you tell a quick story with the title and the thumbnail that people will have to click to get the answer for, right? Now, we typically come up with 3 to 5 different thumbnail variations after we nail the title. So it starts with the title first, and then we come up with different thumbnail ideas. And on the thumbnail, you really want to use the rule of 3. We teach this in our course and everything. And, thumbnails, I mean, there are courses just about thumbnails alone, but we try to teach you the foundations. And the rule of 3 is essentially 3 items on your thumbnail. And one of those items being like the focus item, right? And so if I'm doing a video about the world's most expensive strawberry, I want the strawberry in full focus, large on the screen. Maybe my hand is holding it. That's like the second item on the screen. And then some cash or something, or something that shows a chart about a price. Or many times thumbnails that work well are ones that have like a left side and a right side. So I might show like a strawberry on the left-hand side with a $1 price tag, and then a strawberry on the right-hand side that looks similar and says now $1,000 on the price tag. Now you're looking at that and you're like, what makes this one 1,000? I need to click on it to figure it out, right? So again, it's telling a story in some way.
I was just thinking, anytime you have a before and after option, what a genius way to go. I remember actually the light I'm using right now in my office stemmed from a tutorial that showed the guy going from this to this. And then he covered the gear to get this, look in 5 or 6 minutes. And that totally got me. I was looking through different office and lighting tutorials and stuff. And it was from this to this. So I think in web design, if you're doing something visual and design related,
that's easy.
There it is. Easy peasy. But man, did I need to hear that years ago. I'm like super encouraged and a little bit daunted to have to go through and change all my thumbnails now, because I actually did that on some of my videos. I remember sending you, I watched your Canva tutorial and I was like, all right, I've been using Photoshop for years and I still do, but I'm all in on trying Canva out for my thumbnails. And a lot of the videos I've replaced have immediately spiked just by having a more professional thumbnail.
Oh yeah. So, you can go back into time and replace your old thumbnails. If you already have a YouTube channel, for example, and you could see an immediate spike from it.
What about title? Do you recommend changing title at all? Or do you think that should pretty much stay?
I think you change one or the other to start or change both. If again, it's just kind of sometimes gut feeling. If again, the video is great. Sometimes you'll see a video and it has like a really good retention rate. And you're like, why aren't people watching this video? It holds people, but it's not getting views. That's just a tall tale sign that it's a thumbnail and or title situation. And if again, that the title is good enough, try changing the thumbnail. And seeing if that does anything, and give it like 3 or 4 days to see if something happens before you make another change. But I remember going through and making a change to like 20 different older videos when I started to really take this stuff seriously in 2017, and saw an immediate spike. I mean, the channel views doubled essentially overnight when I did that. And other times, we spend time on a title and thumbnail and we think it's great, and it just doesn't land. I mean, that's part of the game of YouTube. Sometimes you'll spend all this time on a video and it just bombs, and you're like, I thought I did everything right, and you try to fix it and it just, for whatever reason, it didn't work. Sometimes that happens. And other times you just scrappily put something together and it's like, oh, this looks ugly, but I mean, I think it might work. And then it just explodes. And that's part of the fun. Like when you realize that your next video could be the big one, it's like fishing, right? The next cast could be the personal best, the world record fish. But then if you cast out, you reel in, you get nothing. Are you just going to not cast again? No, you keep casting, right? And you keep trying to improve that presentation.
I'm having so much fun right now. For anyone watching on YouTube, I probably look distracted, but I'm just looking at both of your different channels and going back through the category and the catalog of some of your early videos and how the YouTube video, the thumbnails have changed. So it's so interesting just to see the dynamic of like less word. I'm picking up a lot of consistent things here. There's like less words. There's more expressive pictures of you. There's actually, it looks like in the more recent videos, particularly on Pat Flynn, there's more videos of you in your office. Is that fair to say, rather than like studio shots that look overly professional or corporate?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that we found people relate to and click more, things that are just more personable, more relatable. if you will, versus like a really nice looking studio. That being said, there are some people who have really good videos who have thumbnails of them in their studio because that's the kind of aura that they give off. So yeah, again, it's going to take some time for you to find out what works for you and the audience that you're attracting, but nothing is going to happen if you just don't publish anything, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's key. But yeah, it's fun to go back in time and see a lot of those older videos because a lot of them just I didn't know what I was doing. So I'm happy to like package things together. In this course that we have, YouTube from Scratch, has helped over 1,000 people already. And it's brand new. And some of those people are now full-time YouTubers, which is really amazing because they've seen and unlocked what's possible.
Yeah, and it can be very, not accidental, but unexpected, the power of YouTube, because that's definitely what I found. I started posting tutorials. Next thing I knew, my subscribership grew, the views grew, and then I started getting clients for my web design business that I did not expect at all. I thought for sure just web designers would see these, but come to find out a lot of DIYers and people who may know the tool a bit want to get some help. Then suddenly they became paying clients. Some of them really great A clients for me. So gosh, there's so much value in YouTube, like we've already talked about.
Can I share a quick story, Josh?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So I was looking to see when I started my Pokemon channel, like how to do live streams. And I was using a brand new tool that I had never used before called Streamlabs. And I was trying to figure out how to go live because it was a little bit complicated. And I wanted to figure out how to do one particular thing. I can't remember what it was. I think it had to do with like audio syncing or something. So I looked up on YouTube because that's where we go, how to sync audio in an OBS or whatever. And I come across this video. It's like 3 minutes in length. I watch it. The guy is so quick to answer my question. I get exactly what I need. And then I dive into his channel. And I see in one of his videos that he offers consulting, and he pitched it as, hey, if you are going to go live for the first time really soon and you want to make sure you don't miss out on all the key things because it just takes like one wrong button choice to ruin everything, like come hire me. I'll make sure everything's okay before you go live. I paid the guy like $200 for an hour of his time almost within the same day and it started with that one video that answered the question. So again, I think that's like this person was helping people with live streams. Your audience is helping people with websites. Same exact thing. That's the journey that a customer can have. And I didn't care how many subscribers this person had. I didn't care how many views overall this person had. He helped me out, answered my question, and he's had this package that was exactly what I needed. No question. I'm in.
I don't know anyone who has done any level of YouTube work that's been like, I just regret the nice collection of tutorials and videos that I posted. It really has harmed my business, No, it's the polar opposite. Even if it isn't your main stream or main revenue generator, it is something that is such an asset. Again, I keep on saying the same thing over and over again, but because my audience are not going to often be influencers or have like a niche type of channel,
right?
With service work, YouTube is so beneficial in a lot of ways that you probably haven't thought of. Couple thoughts. First off, thank you for allowing me to spend some extra time with you here, Pat, because
of course,
I feel like I'm just getting started with questions. You have your YouTube from Scratch course that we'll talk about, which luckily covers things in a lot more detail visually. You are my favorite course creator. I've said that many times over.
Thank you so much.
Before we get to that, though, I would love to ask you a personal challenge question from my channel. And I think this would be an interesting case study for when your demographic changes. Because like I mentioned, I started doing mainly Divi tutorials for the WordPress theme Divi. That's what I got known for. Then I branched out to more WordPress style tutorials and more just web design, business kind of things eventually. Now my channel is mainly the video version of the podcast. And with my emphasis on business, the business of web design, all of my content is likely going to integrate that and focus on that. That's a challenge, though, because I feel like YouTube, similar to your Pat Flynn channel, it may not know what to pull me up on because now I'm going to be talking about business. I have old tutorials that are still doing really well on the tech side of things. So what would your advice to me be? And anyone in that situation where we've started something, but it's going to change a little bit. Do we keep the same channel going? Just continue producing new, consistent content around the new avenue? Or is it worthwhile starting a new channel? What are your thoughts on that?
If the audience, if some of the old audience that you targeted could be interested in the new stuff, keep the same channel. Keep the same channel. Organize your old stuff into playlists so that people who discover those things can go deeper into those things almost automatically. Playlists are an underutilized part of YouTube where you can put all your, Divi stuff there. You can put all your WordPress stuff in its own playlist, and people will start to like watch those videos and get them recommended to them like one after another. And you're still building a relationship and getting people to know who you are. And when they come to see your later videos, they're going to start to get a sense of what it is that you're talking about and you're interested in now and what your offers are now. As far as YouTube is concerned, yes, they're going to send your older videos to people who may not be exactly who your target audience is right now, but some of those people will be. And so for that reason alone, it's still worth keeping those older videos. I wouldn't ever delete videos. But it's still nice to have them in your archive for the collection of potentially new leads. But what I would do is just have a clear focus on who your target avatar is now, and then create videos for them. And eventually, YouTube will begin to understand, much like how Google begins to understand when you make like a 301 redirect or whatever. Like, oh, this is what the video channel is about now, and this is who we should now find to find videos like this. I think this will be amplified and happen much quicker if you use a lot of the strategies that we talk about in YouTube from scratch on those newer videos to be hyper focused and to be with a really good hook and very clear on what a person can expect, and of course title and thumbnail as well. So yeah, that would be my recommendation. Keep the same channel, but now your channel artwork displays something that represents who it is that you're targeting and what a person is going to subscribe for. And then your videos are all clearly specifically for that group of people. Even without you having to mention it, it's just clear. Then you'll be good.
Wonderful advice. I needed to hear that for sure. A quick question on the type of videos. I have a collection of, as I said, my YouTube or the video version of my podcast on YouTube, along with just 5 to 10 to 15-minute tutorials. I've heard you talk a lot about the pros and cons of going live for a year straight with these long form type of videos and how that may or may not have hindered, some of your other videos on your channel. Is it worthwhile putting interviews and things like that, or any sort of long form content in with your more like quick answers to questions and tutorial type videos? Or do you think it's worthwhile having just a separate channel for that kind of stuff? What were your thoughts on that?
In general, a separate channel to house your longer form content is what is recommended today in the world of YouTube. Now, that could change at any time. YouTube's always changing their algorithm. I'm in a Discord with the person who his name in the Discord is the algorithm. He's the one who actually controls the algorithm at YouTube, and other people who are in the YouTube space are in there as well. And they're always chatting and trying to make things better. There is some potential that YouTube will have a longer form sort of podcasting section. They might get into podcasting hosting soon. That way, because the problem now is longer form content on channels that are sort of known for just the regular size content, 8 to 12 minutes or 15, et cetera. When you put like a 2-hour long video on there or 1 hour long video on that, your audience who YouTube knows you for and they send it out, those aren't the kind of videos that they subscribe for. And so what will often happen is people will click on them and then not watch the whole thing or not even click at all. And that then sends signals to YouTube that, oh, these videos aren't what people want, when that might not be the case. What they're sort of analyzing is the current audience that they believe would enjoy your content, and then it's no longer a match. And so you're not going to see a lot of value there. And it can often sabotage the reach that your other videos would have, because your newest video, which is the longer one, well, it's not getting a lot of views, and they don't know which other videos to promote unless the target audience is an exact match. So most people today are, for longer form content, creating separate channels for their longer form content. But again, like I said, that could change at any time. Now, that's not to say it won't work. There are channels like Colin and Samir, who are my favorite podcasters right now. They have a video podcast called Colin and Samir. They interview a lot of other YouTube creators, and they do a wonderful job of mixing both long form and short form content, and even shorts content in there. We didn't even talk about shorts yet. It's like YouTube's answer to TikTok, which is treated like a whole separate thing. So I don't even know if we want to get into that today, but
just a quick thought. Is it worthwhile exploring shorts, or do you feel like that needs some more time to devote to?
It is like taking on a whole nother thing. Yeah. So if you're going to focus on YouTube, I wouldn't also focus on shorts. I would either focus on one or the other for a growth strategy. And for me, it's YouTube, the regular YouTube all the way for sure. Shorts is still so new and so changing. And a lot of people like on TikTok are building big audiences on YouTube with shorts. And then it's a different revenue stream. It's a different thing. It's a whole different thing. But yeah, I again, separate channel for long form content currently. But again, for educational channels that aren't even really worried about subscriber growth, if the main goal is to share that you are an authority on this topic, and you have just different ways of doing that, you have your long form content to do that, your short form content to do that, or regular form content to do that, well, then it all achieves the same thing. But I do think it would stunt growth to have the longer form content on top of the regular videos.
I'm so conflicted on that because I have warred with myself about splitting all my podcast videos out to its own channel versus, just having my tutorials, but having them coincide with each other. Honestly, I think for me, I don't know if it's been detrimental to have my long form content because it does tend to bleed into my tutorials. People might see an interview I do about the business of web design, and then they see that I've got a video, like a 5-minute video on web design, and then they see I have other tutorials. But I think my case is probably a bit more rare than a lot of other channels as well, to where my audience is typically building websites and building their business at the same time. So I think after getting your thoughts on it, I'm going to stick with it. Particularly in hopes that YouTube adds this longer form podcast video option. But it has crossed my mind to just split them out completely.
It's not going to hurt. It's not going to kill you to do that for sure. In an ideal scenario, like if I were you, here's what I would do. I'm just going to straight up say it.
Let's do it.
I would have the long form podcast chopped up, which I think you're doing already. And each segment that's chopped in and of itself is its own very highly valuable video about a particular topic, right? That's the problem with these long form content is like people don't know exactly what the video is going to be about necessarily, right? You're going to talk about 8 different things in the whole hour, for example, versus here's a 5-minute clip or an 8-minute clip about specifically how to do YouTube thumbnails correctly. Right. And now people, when they find that on search or they find that through your channel, they know exactly what that video is about. And there's less worry about it being as visually compelling for so long. That's the other thing that Colin and Samir do really well is they spend a lot of time visually editing the 1 hour long video podcast with text on the screen, multiple camera angles, B-roll, all this stuff, which is just in most cases just not in our budget or we have the time for. So using the smaller clips, I think Joe Rogan does the same thing. He has smaller clips. These will bring people in and introduce people to your podcast. And if they want the full show, they can listen to the podcast at Spotify, Apple, Google, etc. And then perhaps your long form video podcast, the whole thing is available for just your members only or something. It's just something special that people who already know you, who don't mind watching 2 familiar faces or at least one familiar face the whole time, would get access to and find valuable. So that's what I would do. I would keep the long form content off, but sprinkle the channel with the clips from the show. And then people can get the long form if they want. It's cool. Really hard to convince people who are used to watching shorter videos to go and watch a really long video. That's the problem here.
Gotcha. Okay. Whew, great advice.
I just confused you even more.
No, you didn't confuse me. You challenged me though, because now I'm like really thinking about how we could implement this. I love that idea. It makes a lot of sense with what we've talked about with YouTube as a whole. I mean, gosh, YouTube is so awesome. My last thought on why YouTube is so amazing is that it seems to be a tool that just keeps working for you months and potentially years and years after. Like if you post something, it's similar to blogging. Like podcast, I love podcasting. But it's not necessarily, the search and discoverability is very different than YouTube. Like I'm likely, doesn't it? Like I'm not going to Google something and probably go to a SPI podcast back from like 150, you're at 500 or 600 plus episodes now. Right. So I'm going to keep up with the recent stuff. Same with social media, but YouTube, what a beneficial search engine it is to bring up questions that you might have and the answers to those questions years down the road. So I have one final question for you, Pat. I want to be respectful of your time, but let's talk about your course real quick. I can't believe it's taken this long, but I think it seems like it is a timely course for you because you've had two different types of channels successful. Your YouTube from scratch course, I am proudly an affiliate, like I mentioned, because you are by far my favorite course creator. I've said it before, I'll say it again publicly. You have made such a huge impact. I think you've probably seen it at this point with my podcast and the growth of my business through your webinar course, your podcasting course.
You're doing amazing.
But your YouTube course, man, I haven't gone through it yet, but I'm so excited to get going on it. I think particularly because I'm so challenged, or not challenged, but I'm inspired to really reinvigorate it and change some things up. Couldn't have come at a better time for me and for a lot of my audience. Tell us real quick about your course, YouTube from Scratch.
Yeah, so YouTube from Scratch, it's interesting because the timing was perfect to have Deep Pocket Monster succeed on top of the Pat Flynn channel. Now we have the whole gamut. An entertainment channel and an educational channel to learn from, and we can cross study those platforms and those two channels. Anyway, the whole goal of this course is to not give you everything you need to know about YouTube. There's a lot of amazing courses out there about YouTube already, and if you want to go into them, those are fine. But they'll teach you everything, and you don't need or probably have the time for everything. You just need to know what you might need to generate 1,000 subscribers as a benchmark. Because when you get there, you'll get to more. But that's the whole goal. Let's get you to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube with this course.
And is that because you can potentially add monetization as well?
Monetization unlocks, so that's sort of like the reward, but that's not really the goal. The goal is for you to build a stable YouTube channel that you can be excited about creating videos for, and that can bring you new revenue and other means as well. We do have some monetization sections in there as well, from affiliate marketing to selling your own products and getting more clients to also advertising and brand deals and sponsorships. A lot of doors will unlock once you start to develop a YouTube channel with a targeted audience. It's incredible. A lot of brands are now looking to YouTubers to advertise directly with, because it's just a YouTube creator has such high influence on who their audience or what their audience gets into. So a lot of opportunity will come your way. But
so awesome.
This is not everything about YouTube. It's only what you need to know. So not all the analytics, just the important things like what we talked about today, and the step-by-step how to approach a video, how to film it, how to produce it. And it's not just me. It's actually my videographer, Caleb, and I tag teaming, co-creating this course together for you. So you get him as sort of the producer side of things. He'll show you exactly how to edit a video in different styles. We show you how to do face to camera, top down, B-roll, all the other things and components that you can add into your videos to make them stand out. And it's rather short. That's the cool thing about this. You can get through the whole course in 2.5 to 3 hours, but it's watch a lesson, do the thing. Watch the next lesson, do the thing. And the lessons are 3 to 6 minutes in length. Some of them are a little longer, but course creation is something that, as you know, is something that's very important to me as far as like how to get a person to get results. And that's some of my favorite feedback from the courses that I've had is, Pat, your courses are like the only ones I ever finish. And that's so valuable to me because not everybody finishes all courses. So our goal is to help you make YouTube a little bit easier and help you get to 1,000 subs. And in an economical way too. This is not like a multi-$1,000 course. I know some of these courses are several $1,000s. We wanted it to be affordable, but an investment so that you can actually take that action. And I'm just happy that you're an affiliate, and I want to thank you for sharing it. And for everybody out there who maybe doesn't know what that means if you check out the course, Josh gets a little kickback as a thank you. And it's the least we can do for helping to promote a course to some amazing people who I know will benefit from it.
Yeah. And anyone here listening or watching will get a discount for the course as well.
That's right.
You can go actually the link is joshhall.co/Pat Flynn. All one word. That'll take you to the course with the coupon code automatically applied for you. And we'll, of course, have that linked in the show notes. But again, that's joshhall.co/Pat Flynn. And you can check the YouTube from Scratch course out, which I'm super excited about. And even somebody at my level who is a little more experienced, I'm looking at the outline of the course right now, and I total 100% need to go back to the basics and reevaluate my channel. Yeah. So I'm super excited about that.
We've had a lot of people who even have upwards of 10,000 subs come in and go, this is stuff I wish I knew when I first started, and they've already doubled their channel size as a result. So,
well, I'm at almost 28,000 subscribers, almost 3 million views now. So I'm ready. Nice. Next level, baby. Next level is up next.
Let's go.
Final question for you, Pat, before I let you go. Again, thank you for some extra time today. For my audience who has really thought about YouTube and is inspired, what would be just one nugget of advice that you would give them to just go for it? What's like maybe one of the most important things to focus on?
Yeah, this is a question that Tim Ferriss asked me when I was coming to him with some help that I needed as far as building my business. And he asked me this question, which literally changed my life. And that question was, if this were easy, what would it look like? Right? If this were easy, what would it look like? And I use that question to guide a lot of the direction that I have in my life today. And so if you are interested in YouTube, you can make it as complicated as you want. But I want you to think about how you might make this easy. Maybe it's easier because you take advantage of this offer and you have access to just what you need to know. Maybe it's easier because you shouldn't spend thousands of dollars on camera equipment and all that kind of stuff, but you could probably just use the phone that you have right in front of you, which is what we recommend in the course. If this were easy, what would it look like? You would have a space to just hit record and go. If this were easy, what would it look like? You would already have a list of ideas, seed ideas to then film, like we talked about in today's session. So always try to make things easier for yourself, because we often, especially us entrepreneurs, we tend to overcomplicate things just because we feel like things need to be hard or busy. But YouTube can be simple. It's not easy, but it's simple, and we simplify it for you in the course. And just to what I said earlier, you got to be a disaster before you become the master. So don't spend all your time trying to make that first video perfect. Spend your time trying to get that first video out there and then working on the next one. And you're going to start to see results rather quickly when you do that.
Such good advice. Gosh, I'm so guilty of making things overcomplicated. Like, I think we probably all are. So sound advice. Keep it simple. Just get going and fast track your journey. I'm so glad, Pat, you came out with this course, so I don't need to create a YouTube course for my audience. I can just promote yours. So again,
awesome.
joshhall.co/Pat Flynn, all one word, will take you there. Again, everyone listening and watching gets a discount off the course. So Pat, dude, thank you so much for your time again. It's been fun talking like a topical thing with you. So
yeah, man.
Thanks for chatting, man.
I love it. My pleasure.
Talk soon. Hey friends, it's Josh here. I just wanted to mention a couple quick things before you head out. First off, if you've been enjoying the show, please consider leaving a podcast review. I personally read all the podcast reviews. I love hearing your thoughts and feedback on the show, and it also really helps grow this podcast. You can do that easily if you go to joshhall.co/podcast review, and you can leave a review wherever you listen to the show. And then I also wanted to make sure you know that for all the extras on every one of these podcast episodes, you can go to joshhall.co/podcast. We have a post there for every episode, which includes full transcriptions, timestamps, and all the links and resources that we mentioned. So just go to joshhall.co/podcast for all the extra goodies. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next episode.